Um, all right, so this will be recorded and we will share this on the YouTube channel, DHIS2 YouTube channel. There's a lot of content there already in general, but also specific to logistics and LMIS use case. So welcome everybody to this first community of practice meetup for DHIS2 for logistics. It's great to have you all connected. We had a vote in the community, and the highest, there was actually relatively even votes for multiple topics, but the highest vote getter was the real-time stock tool, and also some developments that we have to hopefully soon have some batch and expiry support. So what we'll do is a live demo of that, and George Maguire will show a live demo and we'll show how we capture data, manage transactions, and have real-time data then available for analytics, for decision making, and so on. So that will be the focus. I will very quickly give a background just to set the stage for the presentation, and then we can go to a question and answer phase. I can turn off the recording for the Q&A, but for this main section, we'll have this recorded to then share further after the session. All right. So, George, do you maybe want to just give a quick intro before I give my background, my intro slides?
Yeah, hi. Sorry, my video is not working today. I'm George McGuire and working as an LMIS technical advisor for the University of Oslo with Brno.
Great, thank you, George. And George will guide you through a live demo just when I'm done here in a few minutes. So this is just the background then for using DHIS2 for logistics. So what we're looking at is a broader HIS landscape with multiple systems, multiple solutions for different purposes and different sectors. Um, and what we try to do is leverage the DHIS2 implementations for HMIS capturing health service data, but then trying to see where can it also add value to other areas. For logistics, we've identified that last mile service delivery points, health facility level is a key area in need for digitization, digital tools, and integration into the digital landscape. So that's where we focus the efforts for the tools. And I'll show you a diagram on how that can be done and the different tools that are covered. But this is just a broad overview showing how DHIS2 can cover multiple work areas, but not do everything. It's really a integrated environment that's needed. And again, leveraging many implementations, and this is at national level, the dark green, where DHIS2 is used as an HMIS, and we're adding then a solution for last mile logistics can be beneficial, can reduce costs and investment, and support a core team of implementers to maintain that solution. This is based on global standards like the target software standards for supply chain. And I'll share a link to this as well. And there on our website, we have then a mapping of where DHIS2 can support or where it should be integrated with a separate tool. And this is a functional design of tools that can be configured in DHIS2 for the last mile and those that require a central or dedicated LMIS or ERP tool. And here you have just a visual representation of your health structure. It could be in an organization, but here we're then referencing Ministry of Health, where you have a central level with a large or multiple large stores distributing to regional and district levels, which then finally distribute to facilities. So health centers, hospitals, and health workers. And this is where we see the benefit, if you see on the left side column here, for logistics information to then digitize these very many facilities and sites, tens, hundreds to thousands of users, depending on the country and context, to then connect that with a central system for supply chain management. And then the purpose of this then meetup is the real-time stock tool. So showing how specifically managing transactions using the mobile device, distributing, discarding, and stock corrections can help support your supply chain workflows. All right, so that's a very brief background on the intention and the purpose of leveraging DHIS2 installations, configuring logistics-related workflows, specifically here the transactional stock tool, and then integrating with the central system is one of the keys to then leveraging DHIS2 for logistics. With that, I'll hand over to George Maguire, who will take us through a walkthrough, a live demo, and then we can take questions afterwards. So over to you, George.
Okay, thanks a lot, Breno. I'm sharing my screen. Just a minute, sorry. Some hoops to jump through. Okay.
We see your screen with RTS Daily Report, now the home screen for...
Okay, thanks so much. So thanks a lot for joining. I'll give you a short demo of how the application works without being philosophical about the setup. But and I suggest you jump in and just ask questions and or type the questions in the chat window. Either is fine. Hope to have some interesting questions. So I logged into our sandbox just to let you know that you can connect to all of these and view all of these applications in our public sandbox. You can complete transactions, look at the analytics on web and the mobile device, and explore the applications as they actually work. So if you connect to our sandbox, it will open this home screen where you see the different applications. I will only demonstrate the real-time stock management today. Important to keep in mind that this application works offline like any DHIS2 capture app tool. So you don't need to have a permanent internet connection. You just need a connection then for synchronizing. So I'll tap on the real-time stock management. And if you are familiar with DHIS2, you will see that this is a customized interface that was built on a tracker program, but it applies only to DHIS2. So this is the home screen of the RTS real-time stock management system that you will see. We have three different transactions that I will go through briefly, but the most, so you have stock distribution, discard, and stock count. I will explain briefly later. So the stock distribution will appear by default, but because it's the most frequently used transaction, but you can then, of course, change it. Then in a normal situation, every user will be assigned to a single organization unit. So that will, this app will default to the organization unit assigned to the user, because normally a user will not carry out transactions in more than one health facility. But for the sake of the sandbox and so you can explore it, we have added three others. And then you have the option to select deliver to. So the idea is that if you're working in a hospital or maybe a large clinic, you can basically determine the destination of the goods that you are handing out. So you could be handing them to patients, but in this case, let's say we're giving them to the pediatric department. And then you will see that the list of your stock appears. So it's intentional that as long as you have not selected three options on the top, that the screen will be blank so that the user is forced to select an option from all of the three boxes. And then once, so on the bottom, you can see the list of your items. Here it is coded with an item code and an item description that can be customized to your country. The item code will be used like in the national catalog, but we also use it for the barcoding system. So you have the option for selecting the items that you can either just tap into a certain window for selecting the items, but you can also open a barcode scanner, which I will not show now, but to select the item. And basically the idea is that when you set up the system, you need to attach a barcode to the shelves for each item, and then you don't need to search for the item in the list. So once you have opened the list, you can also kind of collapse the header by tapping in the right upper corner with these three 3 lines so that you have more space to display all the items. And so we are ready to issue our stock. And let's say you have a patient, or the pediatric ward has actually come with their weekly or the daily order, and they are asking for, let's say, 200 tablets of cefixime. So if you tap on the quantity field, then keyboard pop-up will open, and you can just type the numbers on the on-screen keyboard, then select the blue button for confirming the quantity. And now the magic happens. That's why we call it the real-time system. As you can see, the stock was 9,030. And now that you're distributing 200, 8,830 are left. So that's why we call it the real-time stock management system, because the system is keeping track of your stock as you distribute goods. So I'll show this in the next one, in April. So there's 145 tabs, and just for the sake of the demonstration, I'll distribute 5 tabs. Maybe they come in a blister of 5, so I'll type 5. You see it's 145, and as soon as I confirm the entry, it's going to change the stock on hand to 140. So you see that it was 145, distributed 5, 140 is what actually is left on the shelf. So I'll take a third item, furosemide tablets. There are 7,050. I'll take 50 of those, and you will see it's going to again update to 7,000. Now let's say for today this is all that is requested, and basically I complete my transaction. So what we have done is we have included a second step, because it's good practice to pick the goods off the shelf, put them in a basket or on a trolley, and then take them to a dispensing table, and then to double check it to make sure that you have not miscounted. It's easy for those small number of items, but maybe you have several more items or you have larger quantities, so it's always good to double check and count again. So for that, to facilitate, you press on the review button, and what it will do is it will only show you the items that you have previously selected. So that if you have a long list of items, so in a clinic you might have 80 to 100 different healthcare products, but in a hospital you could have 300, even 400 or 500, and then it's cumbersome to scroll through the list. So here you have a shortened list that is just filtering for the items that you have actually selected. You can still correct the items. You can go back and add items. You can remove items if you made a mistake. But let's say you're happy with the result, and you just press the confirm button, and that will complete the transaction. So the transaction is completed, and if possible, we recommend that you synchronize after every transaction. But if you don't have an internet connection, you can do it once an hour, twice a day. We recommend to do it at least once a day. So you can synchronize directly from the screen with the double arrow. I will just go back out of the application to show that, okay, it's not showing yet. So the synchronization button should appear. So I'll just synchronize, sorry, from the, so now it's appearing. This is what I wanted to show, is that you have a sync button on the RTS. It took a bit, I'm a slow device, sorry for that. And it basically shows you that you have a transaction that is not synchronized. So I'm going to synchronize and synchronize the transaction. And the the synchronization icon is going to disappear, and it means that the synchronization was complete successfully, and you can complete another transaction. Okay, I'm sorry for that pop-up. So I'm going to, this was a stock distribution. Maybe, do you have any questions? Or any comments?
Um,
So you have to synchronize before moving to the next distribution, or you can have several distribution before synchronizing.
So that's a good question. So you can, I'm sorry, I'm going to close and reopen the app. I'm sorry for my mobile device is not behaving. So you can, in principle, you can record as many transactions as you like before synchronizing. It's just that we recommend to synchronize every hour or twice a day or once a day. The larger the number of transactions that you have recorded that you have not synchronized, there's always a small risk that if the device is damaged or it's not behaving like it is now, that you would lose some transactions. But in principle, you can record any number of transactions before you synchronize. Right. It's also a matter of getting in a habit to regularly synchronize it, to avoid that you don't synchronize for several days. And keep in mind that we call it a real-time stock management system also because it allows sharing the stocks with any other site, especially with the supply centers. So that means that as long as you don't synchronize your stocks, then the supply managers at the district or the regional store can't see your stock position. And it will be good if supply managers check the stock levels at all the facilities at least once a day and check for any stockouts. Okay, any other questions so far? Okay, just jump in. Do you have any? Okay, I'm.
Do you see
Do
the
you have
question
a
in the chat?
Yeah, tracker program for on the same app, or do we need two different apps? So you can use the RTS in your existing HMIS instance without problems. Afterwards, it's just a matter of capacity, the number of users, and the number of transactions. Some system administrators might advise you to use a separate instance if you have large transactions, but in principle, there's no. It's just the RTS is a tracker program like any other programs, like any other tracker programs or event programs in DHIS2, and you can run them all on the same device. So this is actually one of the big benefits we think of using the RTS in DHIS2. You can see here, there's other event and tracker programs on the same instance. In this case, because it's our sandbox demo, it is just LMIS, but you can envisage that you have any number of different aggregator tracker HMIS programs running in the same instance. Okay, Brenna has also answered. Thank you. I hope I've answered the question. So I will show the two other transactions. So the stock distribution means that you are issuing stock from the central pharmacy in a hospital or in a clinic, but you might have some stock that has been damaged or that has been expired and that you need to remove from your stock, but you want it to appear, you don't want those transactions to appear as a distribution transaction in your system, in your statistics, in your analytics. So the stock discard, you can select stock discard, and you can see that the color has changed to red. So this is an alert for the user to make sure that they don't mistakenly record transaction distributions in the wrong application. So I think if you use it a bit, you will be used to the blue, and then the red will alert you that this is a discard. So here you normally, again, the organization unit will default to the user organization unit. But in this case, because of the sandbox, you have to select it. And the system is always exactly the same, except that the item descriptions and codes appear in red. Again, you have the same stock. So if you remember, Anal April was 140. And let's say I have found a blister of 10 tablets that was damaged. I'm going to enter those 10 as damaged. So you see the stock has changed from 140 to 10. And let's say I have found 2 salbutamol puff inhalers that have been damaged, and I'm going to enter 2 as damaged. I'm going to remove them from stock, and my stock will adjust to 48. Same procedure. You have the chance to double check, to correct, to change the quantities, or remove an item if you made a mistake. And otherwise, if the double checking confirms those items and quantities, you just select confirm. And the transaction, you can see, is a pop-up. The transaction was successfully completed. And this time I'll just synchronize directly from the screen. Let's say I have an internet connection. You can see it is actually showing me with the item code. So there was an enalapril, the 10 tablets and the 2 salbutamol puff inhalers, what is being synchronized. So every time you synchronize, it will synchronize only the transactions that haven't been synchronized yet. So I'm going to sync, and it's going to confirm the completion of the synchronization as soon as it is done. Device is a bit slow, so you can see on the top it says you have the pop-up, and now there was briefly a pop-up saying at the bottom sync was successful. Any questions on the discard? Okay, I'll move on to the third and last transaction. You see that we have done it as simple as possible. There's no buttons or options on the screen that would distract you and that would require a lot of training. So basically, anything that you were to remove from the screen would disable the tool. So it's really as basic as it can be, and therefore as simple as it can be for the user, and to make it as intuitive and user-friendly. So the stock count is the third transaction. So I'm going to select again the usual Mahasot. And basically what it allows you to do is to correct your stock. So let's say that ideally you count your stock at the end of the month, but you might also have found during the day, while you're picking, you might have found a discrepancy that you want to take something off the shelf and you find that the quantity is less or more than what is recorded in the system. Then you can make a stock correction. This one works a bit different. So instead of having to calculate the discrepancy, you just enter what you have actually found on the shelf. So let's say I find that for the enalapril, it tells me that I have 130 tablets. I should have 130. But actually, when I go back and I count or during the picking, I notice that there's actually 200 on the shelf. So if I type 200, what it will do is it will just change the stock, which is a stock on hand, to the same number. So you're basically telling the system how much you have actually in stock, and then the system will automatically calculate the balance. And in the analytics, it will show you the balance as a stock correction. So I'll do one more. Let's say for the puff inhaler, I find that it's not 48, but actually have only 45 on the shelf. So somewhere 3 were missing, or less were received than should have been. And the same procedure, I'll just tap on the blue circle, and it will adjust my stock. And then same as for the other transactions, the procedure is exactly the same. You select the items, then you have the possibility to review and make a correction. And you can correct here, add, remove items. If you're happy, then you click on the confirm button. And then if you have an internet connection, you can synchronize again. Okay, so that basically concludes the demo. That's all there is. It's that simple. Any questions?
Yeah, we can see if there's any questions and follow up. I wonder, George, do you want to do one, if you can just conduct one distribution, clicking through without the explanation, because it seems like it might take more time than it actually does, just to show how quickly it can be done.
Okay. Yeah, great idea. Thank you, Bruno. Okay, stock distribution. So that's done. So it takes a few seconds.
Yeah, I didn't have a timer on you, but I think that was about 15 seconds, if not less. And you distributed three items. You had the stock balance updated. So I think, yeah, it's just to show how much the workflow is actually aligned for the use case for having someone in the field, someone in a store going through and actually picking items. Maybe to add one more thing, perhaps you mentioned this, George, before, but that this is a tracker program. So there's nothing different from a DHIS2 tracker program. However, the workflow within the Android Capture app is specific to this type of program for issuing and stock transactions. So this is a workflow. So just think of it as just the skin for the capture is different, but it's still linking to the same standard tracker program that you're familiar with. There's no difference in that sense. Also, the homepage will be the same within Capture. There's no additional app or third-party app or any other dependency. It's entirely native DHIS2 features. If you've updated to the latest version, you will have everything that George has shown, not to mention the analytics, because of course there's a layer of analytics that comes beyond this, but this is native features with simply a specific workflow to facilitate this issuing so that it can be done in, the 15 seconds that George showed you that it can be done.
Okay, there's a great question, whether there's an automatic loss report. So if you don't have any other questions, I would move to the line listing report to show you the data that is available from the server. It's also available in the app offline, but it's more visible in the line listing. Any other questions on the app itself?
Yeah, George, I have an additional question regarding the stock distribution. For example, let's say you are the dispenser at facility level, and you get a prescription with amoxicillin. You go in your stock to collect the amoxicillin, but you don't have it. You have a stock out of amoxicillin. Is there an option in the app to monitor the stock out of product in order at the end of the day to know exactly which product that have been prescribed are not in your stock? Is there
Great
any
question.
option for that
Yeah,
to monitor the stock out of product?
yeah, great question. So you're ticking off all the boxes of the analytics. So I think I'll move to the analytics then. Okay, I'm just hope this works to switch line listing. Okay. So I will also answer about the stock loss report. Brent, I hope my screen is still appearing with the line listing.
Yes, we see that now.
Yeah, okay, great, because I can see what's happening. Okay, so I want to show what you can see on the web app. This same report is also available on a tablet computer. So I forgot to mention that I made the demo on a small mobile phone, which I find is extremely handy, very, very convenient. But if you have tablets, it works as well and just as well. And on the tablet, of course, you have more space, so the offline is easier to view. So the line listing is fairly new tool in DHIS2. It's kind of a miracle application. And what I'm showing the overall report, which shows all the transactions which are called the digital stock card, and I'll show the details you have requested on the corrections and the stockouts in a minute. So what it shows you is you have the date. You can see the exact time. This is actually the time when the transaction was made, and rather than when the device synchronized. So you can see the actual date and time. You have the item code and the item description separately. And for every transaction, you can see, I'm going to take this example here. with the ibuprofen. Let me take the enalapril, that's easier. So you had 150 to start with. Then there was a stock discard of 5, and that final closing stock was 145. Then if I look at the hydralazine, I don't know if you can see my cursor, it's a bit down the screen. It was 1,200 to start with, you distributed 10, and the remaining balance was 1,190. And then you can, I don't have a stock correction on the screen. So basically, you can see the complete history item by item. Here it's in chronological order, but you can select an individual item and you can see the complete history of the transactions of the opening stock, the transaction, the closing stock, in the same way that you would on a bin card. By the way, concerning the comment from Brenner, I actually did the tests. So I compared how long it would take to make the recordings on a bin card or batch card or on a mobile phone. It's about the same, except that if you record your transactions on a batch bin card, then of course you don't have that in your report. So it takes about the same time to use the real-time stock management system, but you have the benefit of having your report done and no need at the end of the month to report any data. So the first question is, can I have a report of all the discards? What was the wording? Loss report. So I hope that my screen switched. So this is a discard report. And so you can, this is basically just a filter where you can see the list of discards. So if you want to know everything that was lost, that was damaged at the facility level, you can just pull up a report and you can select the facility, or you can show it for all facilities, and it's going to show you all the discards that were recorded since the beginning of the system. Then there was a comment that for carrying out stock count, it would be better to conduct a physical inventory without knowing the expected quantities. Agreed. So in this case, we don't have that functionality. It's something that we might consider in the future. And then the other question was, can I have a list of all my stock outs? And the answer is yes. So here, this is a report of your actual current stock. So remember the previous report, you can see all your transactions. But if you want to know how much ibuprofen do I have in my stock today, you would have to look for the most recent transaction, and that is automatically done with this report. So you can see the current stock on hand. So this is the stock on hand that was reported, the most recent transaction. And then there's a dedicated report where basically you just filter for the zeros, and that gives you then the report of the stock out. So I'm not able to speak and read at the same time. There's other questions. Yeah, okay, supporting requisitions. So we do have an event program, I don't know. So there's two answers. First of all, we have an event program that allows you to make orders, and that is what we're actually using in our project in Comoros, where DHIS2 is integrated with mSupply. So you can make an order, you can, looks a bit the same, you select the quantities you want to order, you synchronize it, and that generates an order in mSupply directly. And the second answer is that we have a plan for an upgrade to the RTS, which would allow in future, if we have funding, to also issue an order directly in the RTS by having an additional transaction. In fact, that tool would allow to configure, to customize transactions, any number of transactions, and give them any name and function that you like. Okay, I see that was Brenno's answer. Okay, any other questions? I think we answered everything in the chat window, or Brenno answered already.
Hi, thanks a lot for the presentation. I have one question regarding integration between the real-time stock solution and a standard tracker program. let's say you have a standard tracker program where you see a child and you say, okay, he has fever. I want to give him one amoxicillin. Okay, so the doctor is saying there is one amoxicillin that should be given to this person. Can you integrate directly the distribution in this child program, or do you need to have some kind of link between the child program where you follow up and say he has fever, and then go into the another program for the RTS to say, okay, I give him one tab of amoxicillin?
Okay, first a question just for me to understand the use case. So when you give one tablet or 3 tablets to the child, is that something that is recorded by the health worker or the doctor, or it's recorded at the pharmacy?
It can be recorded by the doctor. The doctor is in front of the child and they say, okay, we have to give him one tab of amoxicillin. And then we have another user, a dispenser that is going to really give him the tab. My question is, do we need to have 2 different programs, or can we integrate into the same program?
Yeah, so we have the answer is that the system as it is devised here is only intended for distribution at the pharmacy level, rather than, because I mean I see 2 use cases. So the health worker, the nurse, or the doctor could actually record if they give a tablet to the child, or they could like make a request for the child to receive 3 tablets to be taken from the pharmacy. So that would be a kind of internal requisitioning system. So we have not foreseen that. I think we do have tracker programs for immunization, where in the immunization tracker you can record the vaccines that you have actually administered to patients, but it is not linked to this tracker program that is kind of intended for the storekeeper only at the pharmacy.
Okay, so you would need basically to give him, like, to have some kind of paper saying, okay, give him two tabs, and then the pharmacist is giving the 2 tabs on recording RTS.
Exactly. So the way we are working, the way the system works in Comoros, I guess, as many countries, is that the healthcare worker, so the nurse or the physician, will write a prescription on a piece of paper, or in Comoros, the patients, they come with their notebook, like a school book, and the physician will write the current prescription into that notebook, and then they will go to the pharmacy with that handwritten note, and then it will be dispensed from the pharmacist and recorded at that stage. We could envisage to extend the system, like you say, that you would have an actual distribution point with the healthcare worker, or making a digital request to the pharmacy, but we haven't implemented that at this stage. Okay, Brennan, maybe I have talked too long. I don't know if we want to discuss the batch number, expiry date.
Well, I think that's definitely one of the main requests that we have, is to have batch and expiry management. And it's also for us to understand specific use cases. If there are any participants here that have a specific need for that, for us to understand, is it for having the system define which batch and expiry the user should pick, and that you want the system to define that, rather than the user simply pick the right item based on FIFO, LFFO, first expiry or first entry. So the intention is to develop this feature, but we don't have this developed yet, and it's one of the main requests. It tends to be more demanding, and I think when it comes to also to the workflow, it can be more demanding rather than simply picking from the shelf. So I think for us, it's important to understand if there's specific use cases, if this would be an impediment or a requirement that users here would have before implementing this tool. What we see as a huge benefit is digitizing facilities, like the question that Ugo brought up and others often mention, is that we're discussing facilities where you have paper-based solutions, where this data is not available for decision making, where demand planning and forecasting is using data that's perhaps outdated from multiple months. So I think what we try to focus on is digitizing that data, making it available for decision making first and foremost. But if others have specific requirements and questions, please bring that up, and we'd love to hear about your use case. I wonder, George, if you can maybe just show some of the analytics, just one or two key things before we round off as we finish as we near the end of the hour, and we'll see if there's any other
Right.
questions coming up.
Yeah, there's another question on integrating with existing ERPs or MIS. So that's a good question. So the answer is that basically we envisage that this tool is actually used with an integration. You could use it as a standalone, but ideally we envisage to use this as a last mile tool and with an integration with an upstream national LMIS. So the integration can be done with M-Supply. So we have this implemented in Comoros. We have also done an integration with Medexis in Mali. And we have done an integration with an Oracle ERP that was done by the Red Cross. And yeah, I don't know if there's any other questions on the integration. Otherwise, anyway, I'm going to share my screen for the analytics and the dashboard. So yeah, I hope that answered the question, the last question. So what we have done is the analytics needs to be customized for the country according to your needs. So I will not go through in details. We have only a few minutes left. I just want to show you, you can have a look in the LMIS sandbox. What we have created is a visualization library. So this is not intended for actually using as such, but it just shows you all the different analytics that you can get out of it. For example, here you have a stock distribution by item and month, so you don't need anymore for the storekeeper to report the monthly stock consumption at the end of the month. It's basically picked up in real time automatically, and at the end of the month, first day of the next month, the data will be correct. So you have this for all your for the stock distribution, as it was requested. Like for discard, you can have this as a daily report or a monthly report or an annual report. So we have configured this as a daily and a monthly report for now. You can see the stock on hand at the end of the month, and you can see it, for example, here by item across different facilities. So if you are supply planner, you want to know the stock in every facility, you can view that in one screen. You have an overview of the stock correction. You can have an overview of the stock report with all the different transactions month by month and by item. And you have then can also configure this data as bar charts. The variability of demand, that's kind of a specialty report. So you can see whether the demand has very high or lower fluctuations. I think I'll skip that one. That's more, if you're really interested, I'm happy to discuss. So the stock availability, that's the important one. So you can see the changes. Like if you have 100 items, then 92 were in stock in October 24. And you can see across facilities what your stock availability was, also as a bar chart. You can see the reverse is a stock out percentage. So you can see in December 2024, in Mausot, 88% of the items were out of stock. And you can see also the stock outs. So if you want to know, in December 2024, there were 4 stock outs, which items were out of stock. You can mouse over and you can see exactly cotton wool was out of stock and the adhesive bandage. You can count the number of stock outs you had every month. You can count how long the stock outs lasted, how many months it lasted throughout the year. The coverage time, this is something that is important. So you can define your ranges of understock, overstock, or adequate stock, and of course the stock out, and then you can display this as a color. You can see the number of months for which the item will last if you don't receive any goods and if demand doesn't change. And you can see also, for example, quickly which items are out of stock, and you can see how long they were out of stock. So you have different variations on the theme. Calculation of average monthly consumption. Yes, I don't have a chart here, but it can also be done. So you would have to basically define whether your monthly consumption is based on the last 3 months or last 6 months, and you can do that calculation directly in DHIS2 as well. Any other questions on the analytics?
Yeah, I have one question. I think that's great, and thank you again for the presentation. This is really very informative. Did you consider the case where you have some places where you have monthly reports, aggregate monthly reports, on some places where you have aggregate real-time solution? Can they both live together, or is it an issue?
Yeah, that's a great question. Indeed. So I have worked in the first implementation with the Red Cross, and there we did exactly like you suggested. We used both systems in parallel. So we had the monthly reporting. I didn't show it, but for the monthly reporting, you can, instead of reporting on a paper, you can use what we call the monthly stock report. You can find it in the sandbox, which is conventional, just a list of items and then a list of months. And there you basically have to tally up the consumption from your bin card to your stock cards, and you report it at the end of the month. And what we have done is basically we had a 3-month phase where we used the monthly stock report, and then the facilities that felt comfortable with using the tracker tool, they moved on to the real-time stock management tool. But we could envisage, so that has the advantage that it's kind of easy because people are used to the monthly reporting, and it's just replacing paper with a digital screen. But then you have to change. They have to learn a second trick. So there's advantages and disadvantages, but in principle, it is possible. So the report that you see, let's say, if I look at the monthly stock report, this is actually intended to use in a way where let's say this report here with the monthly distributions and the stock on hand could be coming either from a monthly aggregate report or from the RTS, and the supply manager would not see a difference. Great question. Thanks for that. And by the way, one reason that you might want to combine using the monthly reporting with the real-time stock management system is that if you have facilities that have very poor internet connection and you think that they are not able to synchronize a mobile device once a day or maybe every 2 days, but they do have occasional internet connection, then you could still use the aggregate monthly report, and that will require then to synchronize the data a single time at the end of the month only.
All right, I think we're nearing the end of the hour here. We have 2 minutes left. Maybe I can say thank you to everybody who joined. Thank you for the engagement in the community and then now in this session. Big thank you to George for all the detailed information for the demo and sharing all the insights and knowledge. I shared in the chat the link to the LMIS Academy, which we'll be having in person in Kigali, 10 to 14 November, as I mentioned. So there's more information there on the content and registration information. We actually chose those dates, changed from an initial plan so that it's aligned with the Global Health Supply Chain Summit. If any of you or anyone you know is participating there, it could be an opportunity to make use of the travel to Kigali and be part of both events. So that will be in the week following, so 17 to 19, if I'm not mistaken. The Global Health Supply Chain Summit, just a very short distance away from where we'll be holding the LMIS Academy. George, I don't know if you have any last words, or Gassim, before we finish the session.
Just a big thanks to Gassim for facilitating this flawless community meetup.
Yes, big thank you, Gassim. The power behind our community. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. I'm happy everyone here joined, and please remember to follow up in the community post if you have further, questions. Thank you, Breno and George, for the great presentation and the meetup today. And I do look forward to more LMIS meetups in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
Thanks. Bye bye.